Hi again. I'm Frank and I'm anonymous. This is the second time I make a response video on my channel. This time I'm responding to a video made by an Pan-African named Dr. Mumbi, about land expropriation taken place in South Africa. Dr. Mumbi is a topical social justice warrior from Kenya who has a PhD in social science specializing in African mind. She also considering her as true Israeli. Yeah. Israeli. I'm not making this up. Go and check her featured video on her channel. Well, I'm shocked that a lady who has been virtue signaling about South Africa being colonized by China is now endorsing a policy that will destroy the country, which will make it much easier for China to colonize South Africa as it has started. Please watch the whole video clip and I will respond to the points she made about expropriation of white farmers' land without compensation. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How are you doing? How's everything going? Thanks to every single person that has subscribed to the channel. Thanks to all the people who follow us, and thanks to everyone who has supported us through our Patreon and through our PayPal account. We're in Venice Beach, LA, reporting live. Well, not really live, but you know what I mean. And there's some absolutely amazing news coming out of South Africa. Now, you know, a report endorsing a constitutional amendment to allow the expropriation without compensation of land has been passed at the parliament level. So basically, there were 209 votes for and 91 against. And this is a major milestone, because it means that, you know, it's literally like a point of no return. Now, we saw that there were quite a few hiccups leading up to this vote and leading up to this decision, you know, with Trump even tweeting about it. And a lot of people thought that because Trump had tweeted about it, you know, the white people were going to keep their land. But it didn't happen like that. And this is absolutely unprecedented. Now, the biggest opposition party, they're called the Democratic Alliance in South Africa, they've actually been speaking against the vote. They've tried to do everything. In fact, there was last week a high court actually rejected an attempt by AfriForum to overturn the parliamentary committee report. And what happens is this report has now proven the need to change the constitution. Then once that is done, you know, there'll be several other steps. But this is unprecedented. We saw a very heavy media campaign, especially by mainstream media, trying to stop the expropriation without compensation in South Africa of land. We also saw, you know, all these people coming out and saying, you know, there was the whole white genocide myth where white South Africans came out and said that they were being, you know, killed and they were being targeted unfairly. We saw them being trained by the Israeli army to defend and keep their land. We saw Russia offering to take in about 15,000, you know, Boer South Africans. And so there's been a lot happening, and people, you know, there's been a lot of articles saying, you know, oh, if they do this, South Africa will go the way of Zimbabwe, and just trying to create a lot of fear. But I love the way that South Africa has stood firm and stood strong. And Cyril Ramaphosa, he's the ANC leader as well as the president of South Africa. He has spoken very strongly, and he has said that this is going to be the keystone of his, you know, the keystone of his presidency. We do know that, you know, South Africa does have elections in 2019. And if this issue is not handled, ANC knows they literally will not survive. And so much just, you know, huge congratulations going to South Africa. They are setting the precedent, and we've already seen rumors and murmurs from Namibia and other, you know, African nations talking about this land question. And I told you guys, Africa, we suffer from a copycat, not even suffer. It's now a blessing, actually, where we love to do what others are doing. And so what this will do, the significant milestone that this will set for the African nation, is that we'll see a lot more different African nations starting to address the land issue, because it's not just in South Africa. Zimbabwe was the first nation that ever tried to, to settle this matter, if you want to put it like that. And the reason that failed, because, there's been a lot of articles and analysis now appearing in different dailies, mainstream media trying to say, oh, South Africa could destabilize the region. South Africa could, go the way of Zimbabwe. But the reason Zimbabwe failed, don't let anyone, cheat you, is because there was a global plan to kind of collapse Zimbabwe. There was a backlash. And what happens is that we all have one common enemy. And when that one common enemy gets struck, they lash out to ensure that the fear from what they do and the damage from what they do kind of affects, kind of paralyzes or stops or impedes any such future action. I'll be letting you know what steps are next right after this. Oh, come on.
I hope you enjoyed the video. So the lady is clearly endorsing the expropriation of white farmers' land without compensation. The lady really believes that this is a good idea. She's convinced that South Africa will have emancipation by simply expropriating white-owned land without compensation. To be honest, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, made it clear that he would expropriate the unused land. In other words, he would steal some of the white-owned lands and leave the rest for production, since he wouldn't want to hurt the economy. That's the ANC position on land expropriation. Unlike EFF that wants to expropriate every land owned by a white person and nationalize it. But this begs the question. When they start to expropriate the land without any form of compensation, then where do they stop? Are they really going to expropriate only the unused land, or they will go further to expropriate every land owned by a white person, or even the land that belongs to blacks? What makes you think they won't go too far? So this lady is really convinced that this is a good idea. Wow! This is mind-boggling. What really got my attention is when she said that Zimbabwe failed because of a global plan that destabilized Zimbabwe. In other words, she's trying to say that Zimbabwe failed because of sanctions. The lady doesn't think that Zimbabwe failed because Robert Mugabe destroyed the agricultural sector by waging a war against white farmers who were responsible for food production. He also printed money, and this fueled hyperinflation that took place in 2008. The land expropriation alone caused hyperinflation, since once productive farms were taken away from experienced white farmers and given to inexperienced black farmers. Those farms were not productive enough, which resulted in food shortage and famine. Food prices increased dramatically due to food shortage, and everyone needed food since no one could survive without eating. Land expropriation also caused an investment flight, since no investor would invest in a country without property rights. It was not just foreign or white investors who left Zimbabwe, but also local and even black middle class left. That's why Zimbabwe failed. It's sad that this lady is celebrating the destruction of South Africa. Maybe she does this because her country is a failed state. She wants South Africa to be like her own country, or like the rest of Africa. What surprises me is that she knows very well that the ANC has been losing votes due to its corruption. Now the only way out of its mess is to adapt EFF policies of expropriation. She knows very well that the ANC does this not for the sake of the country, but to gain the votes that it lost. ANC is even more arrogant than ever. Now it's considering to bring Jacob Zuma back. Zuma has the potential of becoming an ANC member of parliament despite the things he has done. Zuma is a scumbag who has wrecked this country. Based on the Times Live News articles, he's ranking 74th on the list of 833, which makes him in a good position. One might say he's gonna be a backbencher. That might be true. I think I'm getting off topic. The saddest thing about this is that xenophobia is still alive and well in South Africa, and there are many foreign African nationals who are here in South Africa. If you really believe that every black person in South Africa is accepting, then you have to be out of your mind. Many black South Africans look down on African foreign nationals. They see them as enemies who are there to steal jobs. That's why there has been a huge number of xenophobic attacks since 2008. This includes stabbing, necklacing or any other form of brutality. I'd like the lady to tell me how the land expropriation is a good idea for Africa. Many black South Africans are not gonna say, "We are all Africans, let us unite." They will tell straight in your face that they are South Africans and you're a foreigner. That's the reality. As far as I know, things will get even worse when the country collapses. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that restitution should not take place. Of course, it should happen. But expropriation of land without compensation is definitely not a way to go. The last thing one could do is to tax white commercial farmers and use that money to buy the land rather than destroying agricultural sector if they think that whites are benefiting from a stolen land at the expense of blacks. To conclude, the country is going to fail just like Zimbabwe. Land expropriation without compensation is not a victory for South Africa. China will come along and pretend to assist the country by lending it more money knowing that it won't be able to pay it back. This is how China will colonize South Africa, as is already started, since South Africa has a debt of 370 billion rand with China. If it wasn't for corrupt ANC, the country wouldn't be in this mess. The ANC should have worked hard to redress injustices of the past faced by non-whites and build the nation. Instead, it chose to be an African national corruption. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment and subscribe. Bye.